Hey there, I'm DJ Waldow. In August of 2014, I launched a podcast called Living Your Passion, where I interview people who are really passionate about what they do. Several people have said to me, why don't you turn that podcast into a book? And I thought, maybe I'll try that. But I kind of delayed the process a little bit until I had a recent conversation with my buddy Jason Zook, who said, what are you waiting for? Why don't you just do it? So here we are today, and I'm turning my podcast, Living Your Passion, into a book. But also thanks to a very strong urging from Jason, he said, why don't you chronicle the process? Why don't you do a daily video telling people how you were doing it so they can kind of get the behind the scenes? So again, that's what this is. So I would say this is the day zero video, but technically, if we're going to get really serious about this, I've actually done a little bit of pre-work before this actual video. So what I did to get where I am today to quote-unquote day zero is I first bought a domain called From Podcast to Book. You may be watching this video embedded on that actual blog right now. So I not only bought that domain, but I put up a pretty basic website. You can see there's nothing fancy about this. I don't even have a logo. I just kind of made up my own logo with something I did in PowerPoint, so very basic. I set up a subscribe page and used WooForms in order to do that opt-in page, and then I embedded that through MailChimp, and I set up an autoresponder, so as soon as you opt in to get emails from podcast to book, you will get an automatic welcome email that I customize, and you'll also get fresh content every time a new blog post is published. So that was all set up through MailChimp. The other things that I've done so far in this day zero, or just before day zero, if you will, is I actually went to a company called SpeechPad. This was recommended by a friend of mine, Jay Bear, to transcribe all of the content of my podcast. So what they do is they charge $1 per minute, so pretty reasonable. So I did just one podcast so far just to see how the process would go, and it's going to cost me $28. I submitted that a few days ago, and it said it was going to take a week. It actually only took 4 days, and I have the entire transcript back. So I wanted to do just one to start with because I want to see how that content comes back and if it's a service I want to use going forward. The other thing that I did in the pre-day zero, kind of the pre-work I had to do, I started writing the intro. So I basically literally just pulled up Google Docs and created a folder in Google Drive for this particular book. And I wrote the intro, and I picked out the 7, well, maybe it's going to be 9 different guests that I'm going to host in this. And that's all I've done. So that's day zero. I appreciate you watching. Please share this with others. I think this is interesting. It's interesting to me. I want to see if I can actually turn a podcast into a book in 30 days, and who knows, maybe this is something I can do to help others as well. So again, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, if you are watching this and you're not subscribed yet, you can go to FromPodcastToBook.com/subscribe, and I will see you for day 1.